Hello, this is Vincent, and welcome back. The video or story that I have for you this time is about the dreaded invite. You know how religious people will invite you over to dinner or, some kind of barbecue or something, some seemingly innocent function, and then you get hit with the invitation to come to church and be a part of their community. So that's what the story is about today. Please like the video, share it with others, hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it so you can be notified when I put out other videos, and put in comments below. I enjoy reading them. Ready? Welcome to Dogma Discussions with Vincent. Here we go. Have you ever been invited to church? It's an old practice, which has its roots in Jesus' command to his followers. Go out into the world and make disciples of every nation. And if people don't want to be made disciples, well, too bad for them, I guess. I think that we're all aware of the forced conversions that grew out of colonization by Christians. Yet, in our modern times, the religious can't force you to convert by the sword anymore. So now we see the invite. It's much more subtle, but has the same end goal and same sense of superiority. Inherent in the invitation is the idea that you are lacking in some manner. Why do I say that? Because only something, or in this case, someone who is inferior, needs to be made into something else. And how is the transformation of the unbeliever accomplished now? First step, get that person to church. Consider this situation that happened to me. A Christian missionary comes to my door and invites me to church. I refuse, but am willing to discuss his beliefs. Week after week, he visits and we have spirited conversations. On multiple instances, he agrees with some of my points. He even expresses to me that I have brought things to mind that he had never considered. I am enjoying our time together. Yet, our relationship suddenly changes. The next time he arrives on my doorstep, someone is with him. An older man, stern, not open to conversing. His mission is to lay out their beliefs and the invite, and that is that. When I say no to the invitation, the older man accuses me of wasting his missionary's time. Wasting his time? Like I owe either one of them, to which I merely point out that neither had been invited to my doorstep. And then I tell him to fuck off. That is the last time I see either of them. Yet the experience helps me realize that to the believer, the non-believer has no intrinsic value as a person. We're merely potential converts or conquests, depending on how you look at it. Sure, but that was a missionary, you might say. A Christian who knows you, sees you as a person, don't they? I don't know. Let's see. When I was in college, I had a study buddy named Brianna. We met in class, and it wasn't too long before I received the invite to her church. I said no and explained that I had no interest. She said that she understood and just wanted me to know that I was welcome. She was a nice girl and smart, So we continued to hang out and eventually became friends. Or so I thought. I lived much closer to campus than she, so in the beginning, we studied at my place. Yet Bree had a much nicer apartment than I, and one day she suggested that we study there. Unbeknownst to me, several of her church members also resided in that complex. On the first night we studied there, a male neighbor from her church dropped by. Brianna insisted it was time for a study break anyway and went to the kitchen to grab us drinks. As if on cue, the guy invited me to church. I was caught off guard and frustrated. Upon my refusal, her neighbor asked why. I told him that I had been raised in the faith but had left. He was shocked. Why would you leave? Perhaps it was just that church. And on and on. To him, it was as if I had been given $1 million and gave it back. When Bree returned, they both pressed me until I reiterated my disinterest, and he left. Honestly, I was insulted by being expected to justify my position. I thought that I had made my feelings clear to Bree and that the subject was closed. My mistake. But I chalked it up to happenstance and let it slide. Yet, after that incident, I suggested that we study at school, just in case it wasn't a random occurrence. Thus, we would meet in the student union or library. One day, Brianna suggested lunch break at a small sandwich shop on the far, and I mean far, side of campus. I am okay with this because we had been studying for a while, and a walk seems like a pleasant idea. On the way there, we are passing the Baptist Student Union when she has a request. Let me take you to that moment. Hey, Vincent, she says, pointing to the door. Do you mind if we stop here for a minute? I need to pick something up. It seems like a reasonable request, and not putting two and two together, I agree. Upon entering, I am struck by the plainness of the interior. The walls are tan, carpet dark brown, and furnishings sparse. Christian music softly plays through speakers in the ceiling. A pleading male voice praises God in some sickly sweet ballad. No people are around, for which I would thank God if I were a believer. She takes me to an office wherein sits the president of the organization in a high-back leather chair. The room appears the same as the others, except for the large oak desk behind which the president sits. He is blond, muscular, tanned, and exudes confidence. He flashes a model-esque smile upon seeing Bree. Hey, they greet each other. Bree smiles back. She grabs the CD lying on the edge of his desk and says, I'm just dropping by to pick this up. And to introduce my friend Vincent. Hi, Vincent, he says. Hello, I respond. Then he asks us both, You coming to the concert at church tonight? Oh, yeah, Bree says. Wouldn't miss it. And I was hoping we could convince Vincent to come too. He looks at me skeptically. Convince? Don't you go to our church? No, I don't. Oh, where do you go? Nowhere, I respond. Brianna starts whining. Please, Vincent, you like rock music and it's going to be Christian rock. I laugh at the idea of a Christian rock band, shake my head and say, I'll catch you later, and walk out. I never hang out with Brianna again. Why? Because now I've seen the pattern. I realize that to her I'm merely a sinner, an unbeliever, a potential convert at best. I'm neither a person nor a friend to her after all. I've actually endured a lot of religious invites over the years, which had a similar connotation. I once had a girlfriend who invited me to Mass because if I wasn't Catholic, she wasn't sure we would make it. Not being of her religion, I just didn't measure up. I've also experienced the trick-or-treat approach, in which Christians drop a pamphlet on your door, knock, and leave. Cowards. If you're going to disturb me, at least have the decency to endure my ire. Or perhaps unbelievers just aren't worth their time for conversation. Yet the most interesting church invite I've experienced was from a Buddhist. Hell, I didn't even know that Buddhists do invites. The inviter was an attractive girl of my age, and I was tempted, but going to a religious service just didn't seem worth it. I was definitely more interested in her than Buddhism, and she was only interested in me as a recruit. The difference is this: I didn't knock on her door. No matter the religion, the implication of the invite is the same, that the inviter has something you need, and by extension, you are lesser than he or she. Yet, who cares, really? What does it matter if the religious sees me as inferior? Well, it matters if someone accepts that invitation and doesn't understand the power dynamic they have just entered. The realization that you are seen as inferior can be quite hurtful. And churches are good at making sure that you, as an unbeliever in their midst, have a lot of work to do to be accepted into the flock. See, the inviter assumes that they have the right, and for Christians, the divine imperative, to mold you in their image. Yet, assuming that someone will want to hear your message just because you or your God thinks that it's important is arrogant, self-serving, and, in my opinion, inherently dehumanizing. Some of you might argue that Brianna and the others weren't intending to do that. They were just concerned for my soul and wanted to help. Did I ask for their help? Don't I have the right to make my own choices, to live life on my own terms? There are plenty of churches around, and if I wanted to go, I would. But I only have that right if I'm treated like an equal. Okay, so that's my story. Thank you for listening. Again, share the video, hit like, subscribe, and put any comments in you have below. I'd like to hear what you think, if you've ever experienced this, how you felt about it. Or if you're a Christian who does this, why you think you have the right to do it. Leave me a comment below. Take care until next time. This is Vincent. Goodbye.